Welcome to the Dave Palma Show, the podcast that revives, restores, and awakens your innermost capabilities.
You have the training and the talent to succeed, but do you have the guts to fail?
I love what I do. When you love what you do, you want to be the best at it.
Today is about the power of you. You will change the world.
Find your path to success through the journey of those who have succeeded. And now, your host, Dave Palma.
Hi, welcome back to the Dave Palma Show. And with me in this show today, or episode I should say, is the leading authority in building your business by building your team. She's the founder of Win the Hour, Win the Day philosophy and helps entrepreneurs create their W.I.N Team, that's W.I.N Team, using her signature super toolkits so you can get your idea to execution and make your ambitions come alive. Kris Ward, welcome to the Dave Palma Show.
Oh, Dave, I'm thrilled to be here. I can't wait to dive in.
I'm absolutely delighted you're here as well, Kris, as I am with all my guests, but, you know, especially with the story you have to tell, you know, and I can relate to some of it. So we'll have a conversation around what you've done. I mean, it's mainly around what, as I've mentioned in the introduction or intro, your business is mainly around how you can use teams to really excel your business. But I want to hear your story first. I mean, how you got into business and your story and your journey before you kind of like got this business model that you're sharing with everyone. So tell us your story first, and then we can talk about teamwork and what it can do for everyone.
Yeah, thanks, Dave. Thanks for asking. So I started my business many years ago. Like everybody else, the first couple of years, I was working insane hours. Like if you read my book, Win the Hour, Win the Day, there's numerous stories in there where I'm not kidding you. I literally almost killed myself because I was in such a rush and I was so pressured for time. And I call myself now a recovering rushaholic. So my husband used to say that I was always stealing from sleep. Like that was my answer to everything. Get up earlier, stay late, stay up later, all that type of stuff. So I had an amazing support system and they were just, cheering me on. I realized after 2 years not sleeping that you're not as charming as you think you are. And perhaps these people that are supporting you, you're starting to be short with. So moving the story forward, I thought this cannot be, I can't do this for another 10 years. And I just can't be treating everyone like this. Right. Because if it wasn't work, it was an interruption from work. So,
right, okay.
Yeah. So I really went from, 16 hours a day down to 6. And we'll unpack how that happened because it didn't happen overnight, but it's very doable. So I did that, and that was a game changer, and everything changed. It was amazing, and there was a quality of life, and there was loving what you do and getting ideas to execution and all that type of stuff. And luckily I did all that because it wasn't but a couple years after that my husband had been diagnosed with colon cancer. And then essentially I was pulled away from the business for about 2 years. And when I returned to the business, not only was it still alive, but it was growing. And my existing clients, I'm a marketing strategist. That's how I started out with. My existing clients had no idea of my absence. And it was a real shock to my local business community. Nobody knew about it. We didn't talk about it. We had a very positive approach to his treatment. We didn't feel it was good for business. And it just wasn't something I brought up. So they had no idea. So then they started to approach me under, the fragility of life and all this, the soccer games they're missing and the long hours they're putting in and the time away from their family. And my existing clients said to me, like, could you help us? How did you manage all this? Because aside from the business and the demands of, my husband and his treatment, I also planned a bunch of activities and surprises and gave him real quality of life that took organizing. So I started working with my existing client base under the capacity of team building and putting infrastructures in play to really what I call get you out of the web of admin. Most entrepreneurs are trapped in the web of admin about 80-90% of the time. And I believe in what we call the WIN formula. You want to write this down, 60-40. You should be in execution mode 60% of the time and admin mode 40% of the time. And so I started helping them, and I wanted to reach more people and create a movement where your business supports your life instead of consuming it. So I wrote my book, Win the Hour, Win the Day, and it really has snowballed from there.
Wow. And how long has your book been released now?
It's been a couple years now. Time is marching on. I mean, I worked with these clients offline for a number of years, and then I wrote the book, and that was a couple years ago now. And now we've got all kinds of levels in which you can work with us, private, semi-private. We've got this amazing winner's circle. That's a group mentality that people just love. So so it's really taken off, and it's really amazing to see people, entrepreneurs, get their life back, but fall back in love with their business and get these dreams out. Because when you're just trapped in the web of admin, that's really a job, and it's a lot of overhead when it's your business. So oops, I dropped my pen there. We want in my enthusiasm, we want to be in the execution stage far more than, most of us are.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, you began, as you say, your career as a marketing strategist, and that's your main kind of, that you've been your main theme of what you know, which obviously marketing is very important in business anyway.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, obviously during that two years, obviously sadly with your husband's illness. What do you think? Because obviously, did you know about the team you had then? Because you wasn't aware that it would still thrive until after you got back to your business, after 2 years absence.
Yeah.
What did you know before and after, and what happened? What was the key that happened there? Explain what happened.
Well, I mean, I knew I had a team, and I knew that the team was working with me. And by the way, when I say team, like at that point it was 2 people, and now we're up to 3. Yeah. So I'm really all about keeping a team very lean, right? Yeah. And so I knew that it was working because it got me from 60 hours a day down to 6. So I knew that part was working. But also keep in mind, when things happened with my husband, it wasn't just like on Thursday I stopped and Friday I never came back. The time I put into the company just kept shrinking because things were being demanded of me elsewhere. So I really didn't know when that was going on, how successful it was. I assumed things were being taken care of. They seemed to be doing a good job, but my priorities were elsewhere. And it was wonderful because, if my husband had seen stress on my face or whatever, like he knew how hard I worked to get that business up, he would have been gutted if he felt that he was connected to the demise of that. And also, let's be really realistic about this. Let's take the emotion out of this story. Life has interruptions. And if I had returned to a business that was gone, I was not of the mind to draft up a resume, be charming in an interview, and learn a new job. So I was very, very blessed. But my story is not unique. People have sick parents. People, all kinds of things happen. So you have to have a business that supports your life instead of consuming it and not eating up all your time.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Time management comes in there a lot as well. I mean, there's obviously other kind of managerial skills or personal development, if you like, I don't know, time management and lots of other stuff, but obviously team building. I mean, that's been my life in terms of, my career before doing all this stuff and the podcast and everything like yourself. It was in the fire service. That was my main profession that I got paid for, as a career firefighter, and teamwork is imperative. You can imagine it's life and death decisions you're making with team you have to trust, So all that comes into it, including trust, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. You really do. And that's a really interesting thing. Most of my clients tell me that within the first month of working with us, they get back 25 hours a week, right? And one of the things that make us different than everybody else is a number of things. One is the system that's out there in small, medium, large business is a very parentified system. Like you hire someone, you give them work, and then you sort of lean over and check on their work. Like you're a parent, they're a child, you're a teacher, they're a student. And we really lean into what we call the super toolkits. And these allow you to stay in that WIN formula of 60% execution, 40% admin. But it is when you have those things, that infrastructure in play, and it just really allows breathing room, and it really eases into the trust factor you're speaking to. So trust is a powerful thing. And that's where most entrepreneurs get stuck. They're like, how can I just give this away and trust they'll do it? Well, because you need a certain, what we call our super toolkits in play. And that would take care of, the trust will just absolutely be there because you've got checkpoints that will dictate things are getting done. Well,
that's great stuff. So I've got a few more questions for you. When should you start building your team?
Oh boy, I guess I would say the day before you start your business.
Or maybe a little bit while we're even before the day before.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, here's a quick story. For me, I always thought I can't afford a team. I was working so many hours, and then there's this whole seduction of you're grinding it out. You're an entrepreneur. This is what you do. People should be proud of how hard you're working, all that stuff. But here's a quick story. When I was still, my primary thing was a marketing strategist. And this was many years ago where, I was still going into offices and sitting down and having meetings. Now, I went virtual long before everybody else because I just realized how quick it was to hop off one meeting to the next on the computer.
Yeah.
But back in the day when I was going into offices, what would happen is when you're a marketing strategist, packages are very unique and specific. So I'm writing all these notes down. And then I would go back to my office and I would promise, hand to God, that I would put these notes right in the computer. But of course, that never happened. Some weeks I got them in Friday. Some weeks it wasn't to the next Friday. And what would happen is they might call and ask a question about the package. And, then they can either hear the tension in my voice or me scrambling to see notes that were meant for 20 minutes, not 2 weeks. And so the horror of this was, what if I misquoted them and undercut myself or looked to them like I was trying to swindle them? It was just horrible. So I thought, I can't live like this, right? So then I thought, all right, what can I do? Back then, what I did was I got a transcriptionist. And this transcriptionist, I would just leave the meeting, sit in my car, talking to my phone, and it would take me 30 seconds, but there was so much information and clarity and all my notes were fresh. I was just talking off my notes. And she would get them in the computer within 24 hours. Now, the really interesting thing is, some weeks I really needed her a lot because I had a lot of meetings. Some weeks I needed her none. But because she was this is all she did. I didn't find it exciting, but heaven help her, she did. She had like 10 clients like me and she was really fast. So the weeks that I did need her, it cost me like $12. So that's when I was like, okay, that's when my team okay, what can I do? Right? Yeah.
Wow. Well, what's the biggest mistake that most people make when building their team?
That is a wonderful question. It's probably the most popular one we get at www.winthehourwintheday.com. And I would say so many people, they just think you're going to get this person and you're going to just throw everything on their desk and they're going to be able to do like a 1950s secretary to the doctor. They're just going to, Mabel will take care of everything, right?
Yeah.
And there's no strategy involved, right? Now, similar to that, before you even hire someone, I think the biggest mistake is delaying that hiring, right? Because I call it the 3 Ds. You're damaging overhead, delayed income, or diminished opportunity. And I know I bought into this for years. I was thinking, I can't afford help. But what I didn't realize is, let's say I could sell a package. Let's keep the math simple because I'm horrible at math. But let's say I could sell a package for $100. When I'm working at 6, 7, 8 o'clock at night, buried in the web of admin, and I'm not bringing in that package, I'm actually charging my business $100 an hour. And I thought I was saving money, but you guys are actually the damaging overhead to your own business, and it's very costly. So think about not only that, but what if that client gave you one referral? Like how much, now again, that's another package. So damaging overhead, delayed income. Think about a client that you got in June that you could have got in January and the referrals they could have given you. Like, oh my heavens, how much is that costing you, right? Or the most painful one of all of them, I think, is diminished opportunity. When you show up and somebody says, oh, I wish, Dave, I knew you did that because we just hired somebody similar to that. We're kind of locked in. And then think of the cost of that lifetime value of that client. So think of damaging overhead, delayed income, diminished opportunity. And, that will really make you see sort of like, are you running a business or are you a sufferpreneur?
Yeah. Well, you mentioned about costs. How much does it cost to build a team then?
Well, that's a wonderful question. I will tell you what it doesn't cost. It doesn't cost what you think. So I gave you my $12 example, which, by the way, now there's so many apps now, I wouldn't even be spending $12 and I could just buy an app that would do a transcription of what I recorded. But what I would say is so many people think from the employee mindset of when you were an employee. And I can't afford to hire somebody full time, and there's all that overhead and the desk and benefits and all this other stuff. Well, the amazing thing now is the world is a magical place to work in. So what happens is resources around the globe. So, you can start, even if, when I'm working with my clients, even if budget was like absolutely not on the table, not a big deal at all, I would never have them go from 0 to 40 hours in a week. So you want to start somebody off really super slow. But for most people, you might have somebody that, works, 3-4 hours a day, and you might be quite content on that. That may be all you need for the next 4 months. So what I want you to understand is there's a lot of variables. It's like asking somebody, well, how much do groceries cost? Right?
Right. Yeah.
Well, what I would tell you is it is so much more affordable than you possibly understand. And what you need to do, what I didn't understand is I sort of pictured it like a mountain climber. I kind of thought when I got to the top of the mountain, I could afford the team, but you'll never get to that mountaintop if you don't have help.
Right. Okay. Well, that absolutely makes sense there. We also mentioned about the 3Ds as well. Why are they so important?
Well, because there's a lot of money, a huge amount of money going out that you don't understand. You're leaving money on the table, and you're losing it in such a powerful way. As I mentioned with the damaging overhead, you're really charging your own company money. The delayed income, you have no idea of how much, when you wait 6 extra months to get a client because you were totally buried in the web of admin, and then referrals you could have gotten, and diminished opportunity. So it's just a lot of money that's not measured, that you have no idea of what's costing you. So that's the thing. You always think, I just got to get the next sale. That's what that's where I'm losing money. But you're just bleeding out in areas that you don't know.
Yeah. You mentioned about apps though. I mean, let's look at the on-demand. There's apps now that do all the hard work for you. I mean, these like Uber, or something like that. There's apps that does all that hard work, and you just go out and, do what you need to do,
Yeah, people often ask me, what tech do you use? What apps do you use and stuff? And what I would argue is that tech is only good. It's like thinking of a machine. If you have a machine that produces widgets, somebody still has to supervise that machine. Yeah. So do my team use different apps to make their job even more efficient? Absolutely. But I'm here to tell you that's one of the missteps that entrepreneurs make. They think, I just need this new tech thing. I know it's really expensive. It'll take a couple months to learn it. And then you're sort of in it before you realize, this is time consuming, expensive. But it doesn't, as my accountant says, garbage in, garbage out. So what I would tell you is the most efficient and successful entrepreneurs in the world, they're all using the same free tools that we're using. They're using, Google Calendar and Google Docs and a lot of free things. So it's not about the technology. It's really about what you put in it.
Yeah. Well, even social media, as much as they do in all the kind of automations and, artificial intelligence and everything else, the more and more you need social media managers and stuff like that. So you're still going to hire out the team. You can't, there's too many things to kind of read the whole textbook on, isn't it, really?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so you certainly would need to get a team around that as well, really. So, yeah. At the beginning, you mentioned also about the 60-40 rule. How can that save your business?
Well, because really being an entrepreneur is all about execution. Like, it's getting ideas to execution. That's it. So when you look at somebody online and you think, I got a little professional jealousy of them, or what are they doing that I'm not doing? They're just getting ideas to execution. And that's the biggest thing. You have to have it set up so you can constantly move ideas to execution. If you're caught in the web of admin, that's just managing paperwork, and it's not bringing in new income. It's not putting you out into the forefront more. It's not bringing in new opportunities. So what you want to do is be in a constant, mode of execution. So you really need to be in the execution mode 60% of the time, and then managing that is 40% of the time. Whereas I said earlier, most entrepreneurs are just so totally suffering and suffocating in the web of admin about 80-90% of the time.
Yeah. Well, tell us some more about your book. What is it about, and how did you get around to writing it, and how can people benefit from it?
Well, again, I took it from my experience of what, my clients had asked of me and their success stories and really just put some things in play. The biggest compliment I get from people all the time is that they say it's an easy read and that, you can have solid takeaways of things you can do today. So my big pet peeve is when you have things that are very generic or they move you in the opposite direction of the goal. So it's kind of like, sales, know when to close the sale. Okay, well, what does that mean? When is that? Like, I don't know, right? Or my other thing is, so let's say pick something horrible, like you have to redesign a website and then you think, okay, I need to know how to do that. And then you realize, oh, I have to know a little bit more about SEO. And then I have to a little bit more about this and keyword tech. And all of a sudden you're moving, you wanted the website to get this next project out or to maybe tell people you did write a book. And all of a sudden now you're going in the opposite direction. And so I'm a big advocate of you want to be getting big results, no fluff, like A to B. That's what I do. I'm always moving people A to B as fast as I can and not having them go in the opposite direction. So the big compliment I get about my book is there's tangible takeaways that you can do today.
Yeah, wow. Great stuff. Great stuff. So tell us more about your business itself and how you can benefit, how people can benefit from that.
Yeah, well, you guys can check me out at any of the socials. There's always, my clients are generally people that either have no team or looking to have a team of, up to 3 or 4 or something like that. And they want to be making 6 figures. But a lot of my clients, the sad part is they look great on paper. They may have written books. They may have a podcast. They may do different things, or they've done individual coaching and now they want to have a bigger impact on their market and, do more group coaching or whatever, or more speaking gigs. But what happens is they're working so hard behind the scenes in isolation. And you guys know who you are. You're out there and you're like, I'm working so hard and I look good online and I am making money, but at what cost? Your sleep, your health, your family time, stuff like that. So those are the people that I'm really passionate about reaching, because kind of like they may be the people where different people in your family are worried about how much you work, but nobody really knows how much you work. And we want to.
No, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, we want to rescue you from that. Those are the people that I love seeing. I often tell my clients when they start, they look like they've a DUI picture, driving under the influence. They look a little tattered, a little beat up, and then even after 6 weeks, they start to look more rested and refreshed, and breathing better. And it's really about enjoying the work.
No, absolutely. Well, some people actually do the coaching and speaking and everything as a part-time or as a side to what their main thing is. And it could be connected with the main thing that they do, I don't know, even the owner of Amazon, I forgot his name now,
Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, he could be coaching people how to build a $1 trillion business if he wanted to, as a side, because his main thing is that he's an entrepreneur, a successful one, isn't he? Of course, he wouldn't need to do that, but I'm just saying. But other people are in certain positions, even professional things like even firefighting. Some people are coaching on the side I am as a retired firefighter, but more the mindset side of things, and doing it on a wider thing.
Yeah.
So people are doing it as a side to their main thing that got them into coaching. So they're going to be busy, aren't they?
Yeah, that side eats in the calendar.
Exactly. So that's the thing, really. And I know from personal experience myself, this can happen. I've got things under control a little bit, but, probably like yourself, I learned about teamwork a bit, but I probably could still do with a little bit of what you're offering there as well. So tell our listeners how they can get hold of your offerings.
Yeah, so you can check us out at www.freegift, GIFT from Kris, KRIS.com. We are also now going to start doing these maybe once a month or so, a free masterclass. So you want to get some information about that, because we've gotten a lot of really positive feedback on it. And it's something that we actually still charge for, but we're going to be doing it for, free in our community. So reach out and get some knowledge, because business should be fun.
Should be, Should be, absolutely. Life should be fun.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Well, and I know you have your own website as well. It's winthehourwintheday.com, is that right?
Correct, yeah.
Absolutely. And anyone listening, I will put the link to that website on the show notes, so you can always click it, and that's a good way to get hold of you with all your stuff as well, isn't it?
Yes, of course, always. Yeah. You can find me, key my name, I'm out there.
Exactly. And you got, as you mentioned, you've got your own podcast as well. How's that going?
Yeah, it's going well. So my podcast is about general business. It could be anything from sales to social media. It's really just how to get to your next win now. But you can check out the Win the Hour, Win the Day podcast. And that's just a beautiful variety of things to help you get results, big results, no fluff.
Yeah. Well, it's so great to be speaking to a fellow podcaster and author, and of course, your own niche and, helping people build teams and excel their business. And it's a great pleasure, meeting you, Kris, and also coming on my show. And, it really is a great value you've given to my audience. So thanks a lot for coming today and sharing all this.
Oh, thank you for having me, Dave. I really appreciate you trusting me with your audience. Thank you so much.
That's all for this episode. Thanks for listening. And remember, if you want to support what we do, then share, subscribe, and leave a review over on Apple Podcasts. Or head over to my website, davepalmer.com, and click on Rate Show. Well, that's all for now, but I'll see you in the next episode of The Dave Palmer Show.
Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.